Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei, Vali and Saji was betrayed by the faction and teleported to World's End Harem movie. Before we start, please go support DavidArmandoLopezRey for writing that awesome fanfic. Now let's begin. This is the translated version I made. There will be some wrong he or she calling here because it's translated, so let me clear this. Issei is a male in this story. Prologue. It's been like 5 years since we sealed the Trihiksa, the factions were at peace. Issei was already married to Ria's Gremory, Akeno Himejima, Asia Argento, Kaneko Toju, Zenobia Quarta, Irina Shidu, Roswi S, Ravel Phoenix, Kuroka Hellcat, Lefay Pendragon, Yasaka, Elmenhold Karnstein, Gabriel and finally Office Ouroboros. Another one who also married you after months was Vali and Saji with their respective partner. Vali is married to Rainer and Kalwerner, who is now living in the underworld. Saji is married to Momo Hanaki, Rukuro Nomura and Sona Citri, who lives in Citri Castle. Azazel, who did not waste time for peace, had investigated some files that he found in Rissavam Castle after the battle against Trihiksa 5 years ago and found that there was a sect whose name is not revealed. Azazel cannot do a faction meeting, and the reason is all the leaders becoming arrogant for defeating the Trihiksa. He received a reward without deserving it, and Barakwil stopped being Odin's bodyguard, whom Odin himself fired for being incompetent in security. Barakwil had no choice but to return to Grigori to fulfill his duties as a cadre, but he received a call from Azazel, who asked him to do an important mission. He went to Azazel's department to find out the details of the mission. Barakwil. Well, what is the mission about? He said curiously. Azazel. Okay, in the Rissavam files I found information about a sect whose name is unknown, I said seriously. Barakwil interested in the information given by the black-haired man with blonde hair. Barakwil. Do you want me to investigate a little more about that sect? He replied. Azazel. Yes, we can't be relaxed now in case a new threat comes out, he said seriously. Barakwil. I didn't expect you to be so serious, said Thunder Cadre. Azazel. Sometimes you just have to stop being lazy and focus on a possible new threat, he said as he grabs a bottle of vodka and starts serving you. Barakwil. You're right about that, Azazel. I leave, getting up from the chair. Azazel. The mission starts tomorrow, so say goodbye to his daughter, he said while lifting the glass of liquor. Barakwil. Understood, he said to leave the apartment. Azazel, who was worried about a new threat that may arise in the future, but suddenly someone opened the apartment door. Azazel. It's you, Issei, he said without looking at the brown-haired boy. Issei. Yes, but I come accompanied by Vali and Saji, he said entering the apartment. Azazel. What a surprise to come, he said enthusiastically. Vali. Hi, old man, he said in a vague manner. Saji. Good afternoon, sensei, said the blonde-haired man. Azazel. Why are you coming here? He said curiously. Issei. You see, we are bored those days, he said sitting on the couch. Azazel. He has escaped from his duty as an ambassador of the Alliance, he said amused. Issei. Yes, the damn paperwork was killing me, he said heavily. Saji. Let's say that I have to endure the events of the nobles while grabbing a glass to serve from the vodka bottle. Vali. I came to see you, lazy old man, he said unconcerned. Azazel. What lively company, he said with a smile. Issei. How has it been in those years? I asked. Azazel. Here we are investigating Rissavam's files, he said seriously. Vali. What an old bastard to meet you, he said with hatred. Azazel. According to Rissavam's documents, he had information about a sect, he explained. Saji. What kind of sect? He said curiously. Azazel. We don't know yet, I sent Barakwil to look for information, he said getting up from the chair. Issei. It is better to have information before looking for the enemy, he said seriously. In those 3 years, Issei stopped being perverted when he started training with Tannen and Great Red. Now he is intelligent and serious in fighting. Azazel. What a change in you, Issei said proudly to his student. Issei. It was time to leave that perverted side, that was like manipulating that side of me in a different dimension, he said with nothing. Greg. Partner, you just broke the fourth wall, said the Welsh dragon. Everyone was confused by what Drake said, but Albion's wings appeared on Vali's back of him. Albion. Stop talking nonsense, Reddy said angrily. Greg. Little red, damn little white guy, he said shouting and had veins on his forehead from anger. Albion. Shut up, tit dragon, he said mockingly. Greg. Don't remind me of that name, he said about to cry. Inside Saji's hands it glows black and begins to speak. Itra. Shut up, you pair of dragons addicted to fighting, he said angrily for waking up during his nap. Greg Albion. As he says it they said in unison. Itra. Fight addict, he said mockingly. Albion. Look who's talking, former evil dragon king who spends his time sleeping, responding to Vitra. Vitra. Like you told me, damn ass dragon, he said remembering Albion's old nickname. Issei Saji Azazel Dreg. Ooh. Vali. Ha 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 ha, I sucked you off, he said, laughing about Albion's joke. Albion. Don't remind me of that past, it's very embarrassing, he said, shedding a tear. Azazel stopped laughing and remembered something he was going to show the boys. Azazel. Issei, I didn't give you her wedding gift, said the former leader of the Fallen. Everyone paying attention to Azazel's words as a gift for Issei. Issei. What kind of gifts is it, he said curiously. Vali. It won't be a tableau dance venue that is in cultic territory, he said with a poker face. Azazel. No, I actually sent those coupons to you as a wedding gift to go to the closet and look for something. That makes Lucifer's descendant blank when he finds out about those gifts. Issei, Saji, Drake and Vitra laugh at the platinum-haired situation. Vali. Shit, the good thing is that two of my wife didn't find those coupons, he said, sweating cold. While Azazel continues his search, the boys begin to talk about married life and other things. Saji. Haidu, how are you doing as an ambassador of the factions? He said curiously. Issei. It's very stressful, no time to see my wife at the residence, he said relaxed. Vali. But he has an encounter with them in bed, he said mischievously. Issei. The only one who accompanies me in bed is Akeno, answered the brown-haired boy. Saji. And the other wives? I ask. Issei. According to she comes tired from the work of the Grimmery clan or from heaven from Kyoto, he said in quotes. Vali. You've passed between you, said the platinum-haired one. Issei. Well, a year and a half ago my brother Yamato came to see the whole family, he said somberly. Saji. And why did you come to Kao after 10 years? He said, annoyed. Issei. Saji, my little brother won a scholarship from a well-recognized institution in the world, he replied. Vali. Something tells me that this institution hides a secret, he said thoughtfully. Issei. Why does Vali say that? He said intrigued. Vali. Remember that Falbium died in the Trahixa attack, he said, remembering that event. Issei. Yes, I remember that day well, he said with nostalgia for the battle. Saji. After Falbium saw his funeral, the demonic advisors chose the new Mass Asmodeus, he said seriously. Vali. It is Zest Belphegor of the extinct Belphegor house as a lucifuge, he said with disgust at the mention of that man. Zest Belphegor is the heir of the Belphegor house, who had been out of the underworld for several years. Some old advice found him in the institution where Issei's younger brother went, who convinced him to return to the underworld as a mass after the death of Falbium Asmodeus in the Battle of Trahixa. The young man accepted the position as fourth mass. After several weeks he did his ceremony to take over as Zest Asmodeus. In this ceremony were the three mass, the leader of heaven, of the fallen, the father of all Norse, Greek, the queen of the Yakase and the DXD group. Vali and Saji looked at the purple-haired man in a bad way, who was looking flirtatiously at his wife of the two bearers of Albion and Vitra, while Issei looked at him seriously for a strange reason that he didn't like about that guy, and also his brother who was his knight. Yamato was living with Riaz, Asia, Kaneko, Zenobia, Irina, Ross, Ravel and the others at separate tables, only Akeno who did not trust the younger brown-haired boy. When I was going to continue talking about Zest, Azazel arrives with the chestnut's gift. Azazel. I finally found it, exhausted from searching. Issei. That's it, he said curiously. Azazel. It's a dimension travel button, he said proudly. Vali. Knowing that his inventor will always end up exploited, he said as if it were nothing. Azazel. I actually tested it in the past, he said with amusement. Saji. Who was the test subject? Asked the blonde Citri. Azazel. It was Kakabiel, he answered vaguely. Issei, Vali and Saji were in disbelief at the revelation their sensei gave. Issei. How much happened? He said, interested in the subject. Azazel. Remember what happened after trying a war, he told the story. Flashback 5 years ago in Grigori. We see a war addict with shackles on his hands in front of an extremely serious Azazel. Azazel. Kakabiel is punished for starting a war between the three factions, he said seriously. Kakabiel. Damn him, why did he send his dog from him? He said with hatred. Azazel. Before sending you to Castidos, help me with a new attempt, he said happily. Kakabiel. Fine, I accepted, he said reluctantly. Azazel. I want you to sit in that chair in the back, he said, pointing to the black-haired man. Kakabiel went to sit you on that chair, but he didn't notice that there was a red button, but it was too late for you to realize. Kakabiel. What the hell did he say? He disappeared from the place. Azazel. Well, let's look for which dimension it ended up in, he said while looking at a screen. With Kakabiel. Kakabiel falls into a very strange world different from ours. Kakabiel. Where the hell am I? He said annoyed. But he sees a figure appear in front of him and it turns out to be an elementary school girl. Girl, hello Mr. Horrible, she said in an innocent voice. Kakabiel. As you told her, damn brat, he said to create a spear of light. Girl. Please, sir, take me to that place, referring to the stadium. Vacabial. Why would I do that, he said, to make the spirit disappear. Girl. Please, she said with the most feared technique, the cute puppy eyes. For the first time, Vacabial gave in to such a powerful technique. Vacabial. Okay, he said heavily. Girl, thank you, Mr. Horrible, she said with a smile. Vacabial accompanied them to enter the stadium where a concert was taking place. Upon entering the stadium, the black-haired man begins to sweat in fear of a stranger. The first thing he sees is a black woman dressed like a little mermaid, another guy dressed like Batman, but the gay version, another man dressed like Thor the fat version, etc., etc. Vacabial. What the hell am I seeing? He said, horrified. He didn't realize that he had gone up on stage at the concert. BC. Hey, you said, referring to Cadre. Vacabial. I pointed at him. BC. Yes, you have to sing, he said, throwing a microphone towards the group. BC. Now, sing, he said, throwing himself at the audience. Vacabial was sweating cold before the crowd of people who were going to sing. Then the black-haired man started singing really badly, which made the audience throw things at him for being a bad singer. Black Valkyria. Singing very ugly, he said, shouting. Feminazi. Boo, he said, booed. Everyone. Boo. Vacabial got angry after interrupting his singing. But inside, someone goes up on stage to remove the cadre, if it was more and less than the king of the faggots and queers, Justin Bieber. JB. Get you out here, old man, said the bastard. The black-haired boy was thrown into the crowd, but they pushed him aside so he could fall to the ground, and everyone started laughing. Vacabial got up from his fall. He was about to attack, but he couldn't because he was overcome by his fear of the people who made fun of him. Vacabial. Shut up, I shouted at the people. But everyone followed him, making fun of the cadre. All. Ha 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 ha, that guy wants to cry. JB. Don't worry, I'll give you a song of consolation, he said in a macabre way. JB. What do people say? He said excitedly. Everyone screams with excitement in response from the queer king. JB. Okay, then let's get started. Thus several hours passed in that dimension, where Vacabial was traumatized for life. In the end, he was taken out of that world and taken to Casitos to avoid problems with Penemu and the other cadre. End of Flash Black. When Azazel finished telling that story, the boys and dragons began to laugh very loudly. Albion Vitra Drag. Ha 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 ha. Poor Vacabial, the sealed trio of dragons said it. Vali. What kind of dimension fell, he said curiously but still laughing. Azazel. I think his name is Punisher Panther, he said, wiping away tears from laughing so much. Issei. I feel very sorry for him, said the brown-haired boy. Saji. And so do I, said the Vitra bearer. Azazel. Accept your gift, he said, handing the button to Issei. Issei. It's okay, it can also serve as an escape, he said by putting the device away in his pants. Saji. It's time to go, he said, getting up from the chair. Vali. Yes, I have to train with Big Reds, said the platinum-haired man. Issei. I'm doing a mission tomorrow on behalf of the underworld, as I always said in a bored tone. Azazel. We have to be on the lookout for any threats, and in a few months we will have a private meeting between the Great Reds and Tannen, he said seriously. The three of them nodding their heads in agreement, the three of them went through the magic circle to their house. Azazel. I have a feeling that something very bad is going to happen, said the former leader of the Fallen. It's been 6 months since the visit to Azazel's apartment. For the life of the three, he was being alienated by his wife and the faction leaders. For example, Saji, whose wife no longer receives him with hugs and kisses in the castle. Now he goes out very often with his older sister doing business in another territory. Vitra already suspected that these three were cheating on him with another man. But he didn't know how to confirm his statements, and it was only a matter of time before Saji found out in the worst way. Vali had the same problem as Saji, Ray and Kalwarner. They are constantly called by Penemu to do special missions for Zest, like Albion, suspecting that this guy is hiding something they don't like in his aura. As seen in my first time at the faction meeting, Albion feels that this aura he had already known before his fight versus Drake in the past, after the biblical god sealed it. While Issei was more difficult, Cersei sends him to do diplomatic missions in other factions. Akeno accompanies the brown-haired man on his trip. His other wife stays in the residence with her younger brothers to keep them company. Now Issei and Akeno are in Mexico to meet with the Aztec and Mayan gods to join the alliance of factions, but they also took the opportunity to go to different places in the country and are now in one of the Mayan temples in the Palenque region. Issei was curious about some of the images on the temple walls. Akeno. What a look, Anada said, the half-angel. Issei. I analyzed that drawing of the temple, the brown-haired boy responded. The chestnut continued looking and found some that were very strange and did not fit in the drawings. That made the Welsh dragon inside Issei serious when he saw those symbols that he would never see again, and now he was in some Mayan temples. That made him see that there was still a chance that an older and more dangerous organization than the Cows Brigades and the Trahixa would return. The Kendo also looked at that image where she was seeing her husband, and the brown hands appeared Drake when she saw that symbol. Silence reigned for a few minutes until Drake came first. Drake. Partner, he asked me to take a photo and send it to Azazel, he said extremely seriously. That brought Issei and Akeno back to reality, but the brown-haired boy listened to Drake's order, took out his cell phone, and took a photo of the strange symbols, and now he started searching in his contacts for Azazel to send you that very important photo. When I searched for them and hit send via message. After finishing that action, the chestnut asked the Welsh dragon about that serious attitude until today. Issei. Drake, why did you get serious when you saw that image? I asked. Drake. It's not time to reveal that information yet, and when we get to Cow Azazel will hold a private meeting in a few days, he replied. Issei. True, and Akeno wants to go see her dad after spending several months in the country, he said with a smile. Without further ado, Drake went back to sleep after that conversation. Issei looked back at Akeno, who was looking suspiciously towards the hallway entrance. Issei. Akeno, it was okay, he said worriedly. Akeno. No, it's nothing, Anada, she said with a smile. Issei. Good morning and time to return to the hotel, I said to walk towards the exit. Akeno took Issei's arm from Ella, waxed on her chest from Ella. That made the brown-haired boy flinch at his wife's action from Ella. The two walked and left the temple, but Issei turned around and looked inside the temple entrance, where there was a group of people looking at him. When he stopped looking at the temple, and the group was not there, but Issei did not give importance to that appearance of the temple. Issei and Akeno got into a rented car from the place, and they left while on the branches of the trees was that group and began to talk. Now he almost discovered us, said one of the subjects. You're right, that damn dragon has to die along with his bearer, said other subjects in a tone of hate. Calm down, it's not time yet, but it will be very soon, said the leader of the group. Leader, the plan has already started, told a girl in the group. Yeah, except our other team is eating the other pass of the plan, he said with an evil laugh. Sir, we have been informed that we have to return to the base, said another girl. So, let's get out of here, he said, getting down from the tree and creating a magic circle. 2 days later, Issei and Akeno met with the two important gods. Kukulkan, goddess of creation representing the Mayans, and the other is Quetzalcoatl, goddess of light and wisdom representing the Aztecs. Kukulkan. Well, young Issei, since you owe your visit to Mexican land, he said with a happy and serious smile. Issei. Vera, Kukulkan-sama and Quetzalcoatl-sama, it is to know if this is going into an alliance with the factions, he said seriously. Quetzalcoatl. Heh, so the hero who sealed the Trahixa is inviting us to join the other faction, said to Blonde. Issei. That's right, just the ambassador, and it's also an honor to meet you, he said with a typical smile of his. Both goddesses blushed slightly at the brown-haired boy's smile. Akeno was not upset or jealous, on the contrary, she was happy that 2 more were going to join in Issei's life, but it would be in the very distant future. Kukulkan. Well, I was thinking of accepting to join the alliance, he said, with his eyes closed and his arm crossed. Quetzalcoatl. I agree with her, it can give us time to think, she said seriously. Akeno. You have the time of the worlds, Kukulkan-sama and Quetzalcoatl-sama, she said respectfully. Kukulkan. Understood, and we also have a request for you, young Issei, said the orange-haired girl. Issei. And what is your request, he said curiously. Kukulkan. It's just that you will be our man, he said in a shy tone. That shocked Issei and Akeno at the goddess's request. The brown-haired boy recomposed his posture. Issei. I will think carefully about your request, I responded. Quetzalcoatl. Phew, he has all the time in the world, said the blonde. Issei. Understood, and now we leave. When he said that, he bowed to the two goddesses. When Issei and Akeno were leaving, Kukulkan noticed something in the chestnut's heart, that a stain was forming inside it. That made her worried, but her mythology partner saw it strange when she asked and answered with the chestnut. Quetzalcoatl. What's wrong with you, Ku-chan? Said the blonde. Kukulkan. Don't call me that, he said with a pout. After that he left the moment and said his answer to the blonde again. Kukulkan. I only saw that the young Issei's heart of her had a stain formed inside it, she said sadly and seriously. Quetzalcoatl. There is a reason for that stain, she said curiously. Kukulkan. It's very easy to know, besides, we are dragons, she said in a whisper in the last part. Quetzalcoatl. That's what it means, she said, upset. Kukulkan. Yes, someone activated the curse. Lost Precious. After the meeting with the two goddesses in Mexico, Issei and Akeno returned to Kao, but when they arrived at the residence receiving news that Riaz was in a coma, they alerted the brown-haired man and the black-haired woman about the health of Issei's first wife when she was absent on her trip. No one, the Harem's sister and Chestnut's parents, were there helping Riaz when she fell into a coma. Now Riaz is in the underworld bed. Issei and Akeno were very worried. How long would it take to wake up from her coma? The doctor said it would be a year, and he also said that he found a substance never seen before for them. The doctor will do everything possible to find a cure. Issei and Akeno are relieved by that news, but they will also do their part to help that their wife friend wakes up in a coma. They both know it well, even so they stayed in the hospital for 2 days. Present. In Azazel's department, a meeting is being held as planned months ago. There were Azazel, Barakwil, Tannen, Gran Rojo, Crom Cruich, all three in human form, Issei, Akeno, Vali, Saji and finally Middled, who has feelings for Brown, has not yet confessed it, and was talking about a topic about a new threat that may come. Azazel. Well, it's time to start talking, and Barakwil can give us information to look for you, said the former fallen leader. Barakwil gave his report about him at the place where he studied the new mass Asmodeus and Yamato in the United States, where he discovered that those two were working on a NASA project 3 years ago. That project was cancelled by President Donald Trump. That revelation shocked those present, and so he finished giving his report. Azazel. Thank you, Barakwil, and now after reading Risavam's files, he said, explaining. Everyone was serious about what Azazel said, but for some dragons who didn't like what he said. Azazel. Risavam, I had the research to resurrect the great cannon of Armageddon, he said seriously and terrifyingly. Breg, Albion, Vitra, Crom, Tannen and Great Red were in shock by that revelation that Azazel gave. Gr. Yeah, that's impossible. How did you get that investigation, he said, annoying. Crom. In fact, when we stole several information from the seventh heaven, among them was there, said the blonde black-haired man. Liltult. Excuse me, Azazel Sama, what is the Armageddon cannon? She said curiously. Barakwil. It is the ultimate weapon against top 10 strongest beings, said the Thunder Cadre. Tannen. The power of the weapon is more dangerous than Trahixa, Shiva and other gods, said former Dragon King. Breg. With a single shot he can wipe out a mythology and a human continent, he said terrifyingly. Azazel. But unfortunately for the biblical god, he kept that plan in his cellar in the seventh heaven so that no one could use it, he said, finishing the explanation of the weapon. Vali. And why did that bastard have it? He said with disgust. Issei. Maybe he had it as a backup in case he failed to release the Trahixa, said the brown-haired boy. Barakwil. Good point, they are in law, I didn't have enough resources to do it, he said seriously. Saji. What resources did you ask for? I have asked. Gr. You need the blood of 3 dragons, replied the red-haired man. The Keno. And who are the dragons? Said the black-haired woman. Albio. It would be mine, from Dragon Vitra, he said extremely seriously. Vitra. Issei alone is almost completely dragon, while my partner and Lucifer are still demon, said Prison Dragon. Azazel. As long as you 3 remain down there, the Alliance's protection can't do anything to you, he said seriously. Azazel. Also Issei, the image you sent me days ago and I discovered something. I paused. Crom. What symbol were you? He said curiously. Azazel. Woover with an inverted triangle, said former mixed movie. Gr. Could it be that office is related to a Celtic clan? The red-haired man said seriously. Azazel. I don't know, but in the Mayan temple where Issei and Akeno went, he found him there, he said, shrugging his shoulders. Tannen. If I remember correctly, office has a secret sect, said the purple-haired man. Barakwil. And what shall we do, Azazel? He said with great seriousness. Azazel. Good, I will have to keep that information about that weapon away, and we don't want anyone to look for it, he said in a commanding voice. Saji. What will happen with 2 Zests, Asmodeus and Yamato? The blonde said. Tannen. I suggest we keep an eye on him, besides I don't trust them both, he said seriously. Issei. You're right, Tannen, we still don't know what their objective is, said the brown-haired boy. Vali. Plus he already has protection from other leaders, said Platinum Hair. Azazel. In the meantime, keep an eye on us and train very hard, he said seriously. All. Hi, they said in unison. Azazel. That's how we end the meeting, I said, getting up from the chair and going to the minibar to get a bottle of liquor. So everyone left Azazel's apartment, but no one noticed that they were being spied on by Yamato's familiar. The familiar returned to his owner and gave the younger brown-haired boy the information about Azazel's private meeting. Yamato. So Azazel has the plan for the Armageddon cannon, he said with an evil smile. The lesser chestnut made a magic circle of communication and contact with Zest. Yamato. Zest Sama, I have important news, he said seriously. Zest. What's new, said Asmodeus. Yamato. I found the Armageddon cannon plans, he said excitedly. Zest. Where is it, he said shocked. Yamato. He has it in Azazel's hand, he said in response. Zest. We have to get those plans, he said desperately. Yamato. Don't worry, Zest-sama, said the younger chestnut. Zest. What do you mean? He said curiously. Yamato. Our hitman group already did the job, he said with a devilish smile. Zest. Excellent, just a matter of time to implement the plan, said the light purple-haired man. Yamato. Then we'll see him in his castle, he said, cutting off communication and entering his room with Issei's wife, who was having an orgy. When you finished the conversation, he made you laugh like crazy, and that confused 3 women in bed. What's wrong, Zest, said the black-haired girl. Zest. It's nothing important, he said with a smile. Then go back to bed, I want you to buck me like a boar, said the strong blue-haired girl. Boo, it's your turn, Kala-chan, said another younger black-haired girl. Zest. Okay, Penemu, Rainer and Kalwerner, you're going to feel like women, he said to grab the blue-haired girl and put his hawk to Ella in her to Ella Vagina to Ella. Kalwerner. Yes, give it to me harder, he said in a lustful tone. Zest. As you say, he said with an evil smile. So the 4 of them were fornicating, but now the destiny of Issei, Vali and Saji is going to change tomorrow, where their lives are going to have a new direction that was uncertain for the 3 of them. Next chapter. Accepting the harsh truth. Well, what did you think of the prologue? In that fic, Rainer, Kalwerner and Miltel are alive. I also added some dark humor in the following chapters. Now we have the villains of the story. Zest Asmodeus and Yamato Haidu, who deceived the group of dependents, I mean the facts of betraying the boys. Another thing, I changed the concept of the fall of the dragon for a curse of lost precious, which I based on the I'm Dragon crisis. Issei, Vali and Saji have allies as seen at the Azazel meeting, but also suffered a persecution after the boys escaped to the other dimension. Issei has his 2 wives who have not betrayed him. Akeno and Rias. Chapter 1. Accepting the harsh truth. Himejima Temple. Issei and Akeno sleeping there, a reason you wonder why Issei is not in the Hoyodu residence. Let's review the facts. Flashback later to the meeting with Azazel. The brown-haired and black-haired boy were transported to Cow Park, where the 2 began walking together to reach the Hoyodu residence. Akeno. Ara, Ice-kun, what a beautiful night, said the half-angel with a smile. Issei. I agree with you, love, he said holding hands. Akeno felt happy to be by her chestnut's side, she never separated from him in those 5 years, she and Rias were faithful to the chestnut since the day they got married. While Issei was the complete opposite, he achieved everything through his efforts after entering the supernatural world, he was consistent that something very bad was going to happen, as was Drake, who had an idea that he should not go to the residence. After walking to the residence, Issei opened the door, who noticed that the lights were off in the living room, kitchen and the rest of the residence. Akeno. Ice-kun, I don't like something, she said worriedly. Issei. Calm down, you all went to sleep, he said calmly to the black-haired woman. Issei. Maybe you're right, something doesn't fit, he said in his mind. 2 went up in the elevator of the house to go to their room, but for Issei, you were going to receive an unpleasant surprise when you reached the 2nd floor. When I got to the 2nd floor, the place was very strangely quiet until I heard some strange sounds. They both went to check where those sounds were coming from, and now there were moans inside one of the rooms, and the door was half open. The 2 walked in front of the door, out of curiosity about what was happening. The brown-haired boy and half-angel saw something that made their blood boil. In his room were the rest of his wives having sex with his younger brother Yamato Haidu. Akeno is upset, she wanted to throw her rays towards the group of bitches, her so-called harem sister, but Issei stopped her. Issei. Akeno, it's not worth it, use your rays, said the brown-haired boy. Akeno. But, damn it, Anata, I betrayed your love and trust, she said infertile in anger. Issei. I knew that the missions that this damn Surzers and the other leaders sent were distractions, whispering in his black-haired ear. Issei and Akeno left the place to stop seeing that and went to the Himejima temple to spend the night. End of flashback. Issei first got up from the futon where he shared with Akeno and went out to the mountain to take out all his frustration for the betrayal of his wife and his younger brother. He began to destroy stones by stones. Issei. What have you done to deserve to receive that betrayal, he said, hitting the ground making a medium-sized crater. Suddenly, Drake appeared in Chestnut's hands and spoke. Drake. Mate, calm down, it will speed up the lost precious curse, said the Welsh dragon worried. Issei. Lost precious curse? He asked confused. Drake. Lost precious curse is a corruption for dragons. When a dragon suffers a betrayal from its females, that dragon dies or turns into cursed objects, transmitting bad feelings such as anger, greed, revenge and betrayal, he explained. Issei. That will also apply when fighting against the Trahexa and the evil dragons, he said seriously. Greg. No, they are immune to that curse. We have the example of Crom Cruach and Vitra, he replied. Issei. What is the way to remove the curse? He said seriously, but he was suffering the effects. Greg. There are 3 ways. The first is the extraction of extremely serious feelings. Greg. It consists of eliminating all feelings towards their females, but the dragons see it as a dishonor to do that type of ritual, he said with contempt. All of the DXD multiverse betrayed. The Isseis, Vali and Saji were insulted for a strange reason by someone. Greg. The second is dragon sacrilege, I have no information, and the last is rise of the dragon, I also have no information, I finish explaining. Issei began to process the information Drake gave, but he was interested in the last 2, he said. There was only one dragon that would help him, it was the Great Red. After a few minutes he returned to the Himejima temple, where his wife was waiting for him for breakfast. Bakeno. Ice-kun, you feel better now, said the black-haired woman. Issei. Everything happened to me, now let's have breakfast, he said as he sat at the table. Bakeno. There is unlimited action of her husband. Hotel. The platinum-haired and the blonde boy in the hotel, but on different floors. Saji was crying, while Vali cried out of pure rage and anger that he felt. Reason. Just like Issei discovering the harsh reality of his wives. Flashback. Saji arrived at Citri Castle, where he went up the stairs to go sleep in a bedroom with his wife. When he was about to open the door, he heard something strange. Vitra warned him to get out of here, but out of insecurity he opened the door a little, and the blonde saw that Haruko, Momo, Sona along with her older sister Serafal were naked, but it left Saji bewildered. It was Tsubaki who was also naked. The first to speak was Sona. Sona. I didn't expect you to come with your husband, said the Citri heiress. Tsubaki. Kiba-kun, he told me that they were his lovers, he said. Queen Citri. Momo. I circa an apostrophe T wait for him to fill me with his semen from her, she said in a lustful tone. Haruko and Serafal were going to talk, but they were silenced by their moans. Kiba was masturbating both of them. Kiba. Calm down, I'll give you a lot of pleasure than your husband Saji, she said maliciously. That revelation shocked the Vitra bearer. In case Vitra confirmed it, it became a reality and turned out to be Kiba-Udo, a knight of the Gremory clan. Saji was still in a trance when he saw that Sona was giving Kiba a blowjob, while Momo began to lick Kiba's chest, and Tsubaki kissed her husband. Suddenly, Vitra brought its bearer out of its trance. Vitra. Saji, we'll leave here from the castle, he said worriedly. That brought Saji out of his trance, and he made a magic circle where he went to Cow Park, where he cried bitterly after learning of the betrayal of his wife and sister-in-law. After a few minutes he dried his tears and spent the night in a hotel to forget that bad night. At the same time, Vali, who was a descendant of Lucifer and heir to the Mau throne, was now nearby in his bedroom where he slept with his wife of him, where he saw a scene that broke his heart. Vali saw Rainer and Calawarn along with Penemu, who were being bucked like jealous whores by Zest. The purple-haired man asked the black-haired woman something. Zest. Who is better, me or Vali Lucifer? Said Dart, stabbing Rainer in the anus. Rainer. You are better than Vali when giving that pleasure to him, she said with a stupid smile and moving her hips strongly. Calawarn. You're right, Ray-chan, you're a man who's worth it, he said with lust and while doing 69 with Penisimu. The platinum hair left Lucifer's castle and went to the human world on the cow dock where he cried loudly. His life received several blows. The mistreatment of Risivam, the abuse done to his mother, losing his mothers that caused hatred against Risivam, and now the betrayal of his wives in front of him and in his castle. At that moment, the miserable Risivam was mocking the misfortunes of his grandson right now. After a few minutes, Albion told his bearer to go to a hotel to spend the night, but Albion was alerted that spots were appearing on Vali's body, and he needed to go to Azazel or Great Red to help him. End of flashback. Both boys met at the hotel reception now, who was handing the keys to the receptionist. Saji. Vali, what are you doing here? I ask. Vali. I ask you the same thing, said the platinum-haired man. Saji. I don't want to talk about it, said Blonde with a sad expression. Vali. I understand, I think something bad occurred to you, he replied. Suddenly Saji's cell phone rang and they were happy about the call. Issei. Guys, it's there, he said from the other side. Saji. Yes, Hyodo has replied. Issei. That's good, now I want to go to the dimensional gap, he said seriously. Saji. Huh. Because something happened, he said doubtfully and confused. Issei. When I arrive I will give you details, he said, cutting the call. Vali asked Saji about the chestnut call. Vali. You wanted Issei, he said seriously. Saji. He said we should go to the dimensional gap, answered Blonde. Vali. I'm sure there were a lot of series, he said thoughtfully. Suddenly Albion and Vitra will manifest in their bearers. Albion, Vitra. Guys, we have bad news for you, they said in unison and worried. Ollie. What's the bad news? He said seriously. Albion. Their bodies are being infected by the corruption of lost precious, the English dragon responded. Vitra. In your case, Saji, since I'm immune, but your bodies are going into a kind of chaos, explained the former prison dragon king. Ollie. That explains my discomfort in my heart. He puts his hands on his chest. Saji. Well, we have to go, he said seriously. Vali and Saji go to a secluded alley and create a magic circle to go to the dimensional gap. Hell, Grimmery Castle. The Mao's Lucifer called a meeting of factions missed by Zest to report on the murder within the demonic council and theft of information from Seventh Heaven. The meeting was as follows. The leaders and their escorts. Demons. Cershur's Lucifer, Seraphol Leviathan, Ajuka Beelzebub and Zest Asmodeus was being guarded by the Grimmery clan Asia, Zenobia, Kaneko, Kiba, Gasper, Roswis and Ravel and Citri clan Sona, Tsubaki, Tsubasa, Tomo, Momo, Ria, Haruko, Benya and Loop. Poland. Shemhazai and Penemu accompanied by Rainer and Kalwerner. Angels. Michael and Gabriel accompanied by Irina, Dulio and Grisida. Nordic. Odin and Thor. Their escort was Biku and Arthur. Yakase. Yusaka and Kunu were accompanied by Kuroka and Lefay. Olympian. Zeus and Apollo. Siva. The first to take the words was Searchers. Searchers. We are all gathered now, said Siskin. Seraphol. Okay, Zest-chan, what's the important news? She asked seriously. Zest. One of the guards of the demonic council told me that all the members were brutally murdered in the middle of a session, said the light purple-haired man. That revelation put those present in a state of shock. Ajuka. How did that happen? He said angrily. Zest. According to what happened last night, he replied. Michael. It has murder material, said the Sky Overlord. Zest. Yes, Michael don't know, they were recorded on security camera, he said to show the video. Zest started playing the video from the surveillance camera, seeing that there were 3 subjects who carried out that massacre. Those present were shocked when they saw Issei, Vali and Saji were the culprits of that murder. After finishing the video, the DXD leaders and group had reactions about the 3 boys. Zest is laughing inside that those morons and bitches fell into her trap, now adding fuel to the fire. Zest. Also, Yamato-kun, I discovered the culprit who stole the 7th heaven, he said seriously. Michael Gabriel what shouted. Zeus. What has been stolen from within the Sky faction, he said curiously. Michael. How do I answer your questions? Zeus don't know, and for everyone, he said, having recovered his aptitude from him. Everyone paying attention to what the Overlord was going to say. Michael. It was the blueprint for a destructive weapon, he said seriously. Ajuka. Has the name of the flat, said intrigued. Gabriel. Our father never said it, said the blonde. Odin. Zest don't know, the thief has the envelope, said father of all. Zest. Yamato's relative informed me that he was a very well-known person, he said seriously. Isaka. Known. The Yokai leader said confused. Zest. Yes, he is a former faction leader, said the light purple-haired man. Shemhazai and Penemu opening their eyes wide after Mass Asmodeus's comment. Shemhazai. Don't tell me it's Azazel and Barakwil, he said with his eyes closed. Seraphol. How did you get it? She asked seriously. Shiva. That lazy guy would never do it, said Hindu. Penemu. If I remember correctly, he was under investigation, said the purple-haired woman. Cershurs. At least he'll try to destroy us all, said Siskin. Everyone was terrified by the possibility, but Zest, who was smiling evilly, said that his plan was working and all that was left was to do the final touches. Zest. I suggest you start capturing those 5 criminals, he said seriously. Thor. I agree with Asmodeus-sama, we won't be able to set him free, said God of Thunder. Zeus. Let's take a vote on whether to start capturing Issei Hyaudu, Vali Lucifer, Saji Genshuru, Azazel and Barakwil. Ajuka. If that happens, all the wives of the 3 will be automatically divorced after being criminals, said the green-haired man. Cershurs. Girls, do you agree to accept the divorce? Said the Siskin seriously. All. We accept, we don't want to be with murderers, they said in unison. Odin. Raise your hands, you are in favor of capturing those traitors, said the father of all. All leaders voted unanimously in favor of forming. Zeus. Well, he has been summoned to the Hyaudu residence to confess his crimes. Zest. I already went ahead, I sent my entourage to capture 2 cadre, he said seriously. Seraphol. We'll send you reinforcements, said the black-haired magical girl. Cershurs. Well, today we will capture him at night, besides it is Issei and Yu's wedding anniversary, girl, he said seriously. Issei's ex-harem. Understood, Cershurs-sama. Ajuka. That meeting concludes, said the green-haired man, creating a magic circle and went to his territory. Everyone left the castle meeting room. Human world, Azazel's apartment. Azazel and Baraquiel were storing the information and canon blueprints in a cursed chest. When he finished saving everyone, the former leader of the Fallen put a magic code that no one could open. He could only open high-level anti-magic codes, or the master code taken from Azazel himself. Now he needed the location to hide that chest away from the supernatural world. He was not stupid. Baraquiel told him that the leaders asked him about his suspicious activity in the last few months. In case his faction of him, Penemu and Shemazai, thought that he was in a brothel fornicating with pure whores, now he only dedicates himself to investigating and being alert of any threat. When the two were going to leave and did not expect that he was in a pocket dimension with the entourage of Zest entered his apartment. Yamato, Cadre Azazel and Becariel are arrested for treason to the Alliance and stealing information from heaven, said younger Chestnut. Azazel Baraquiel. What, they said in shock. Yamato. We have real proof along with the 3 traitors, he said seriously. Becariel. How the hell did you find out about that? He said in a whisper to Pelamixto. Azazel. Before putting up the barrier, we didn't notice that a relative came in, he said with that conclusion. While those two were whispering among themselves. Yamato was losing patience. Yamato. I'll give you up, one way or another, along with the chest, he said seriously. Azazel. I think this time he chooses the hard way, he said, putting her in a fighting pose while taking out a spear of light. Baraquiel. We haven't done anything wrong to you, said Cadre, releasing his thunder. Yamato. So that's how you want it, he said with a not very arrogant smile. Zest's pawns launched themselves against Azazel, while Yamato along with the Rook launched themselves against Baraquiel. Azazel kept the chest in a dimension before starting the fight with the 4 pawns of Zest. Azazel. Come on, brat, you know how to fight as a team, he said with a sly smile. The 4 of them were promoted to queen and threw themselves at Azazel. While Yamato summons his hellish flames along with a sword. Becariel. You are the bearer of the sword of madness, Arandite, seriously. Yamato didn't say anything but launched himself at Becariel. Baraquiel raises both his hands to applaud. Baraquiel. Sanda no Hakushu thunderclap, the black-haired man exclaimed. After saying the name, the attack released a wave of thunder against 3 attackers, but Yamato evaded the attack, and the 2 towers, the knights and 2 bishops, received the attacks and were knocked out by that attack. Yamato. I'll knock out the rest of those useless people, said brown-haired. Baraquiel. Don't take me lightly, brat, said the black-haired boy with closed eyes. Baraquiel. But if you want to fight with a sword, he said to summon a sword that he never used in battle again. Baraquiel. Well, brat, I'll teach you some manners, he said seriously, brandishing his sword. Yamato had a macabre smile and replied. Yamato. Ha 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 ha, finally serious, Thunder Cadre, said brown-haired. The 2 crossed swords, leaving Azazel's apartment to have another fighting ground. While Azazel had no problem fighting the pawns, he added that the Queen of Zest joined the battle. Azazel. Hikari no Shinpan no aim, rain of light judgments, exclaimed the former leader. He said to fire a large amount of mini light spears at the pawns, while the queen raised a barrier to cover herself from Azazel's attack. After saying the attack, the 4 pawns were unconscious while the queen remained standing. Queen Z. You can't escape a law, said the beautiful brunette woman. Reina creates a magical attack against Azazel, the aforementioned evades at a speed that only humans cannot see. Queen Z. Where is he, she said to look for the fallen X. But she was hit from behind, and the cause was Azazel. Queen Z. Kai she was sent to another house. Azazel. I think I've exceeded the blow, he said as if nothing. As the girl stands up and breaks the spell that kept her human form. Azazel was shocked at what he was seeing. Azazel. I never imagined seeing a bicorn in person, he said as he arrived where the girl was. Queen Z. You're surprised to see a bicorn, said the lilac-haired girl. The girl draws a spear from her family in a magic circle. Queen Z. I introduce myself before you, Azazel Dono, although you are a criminal of the Alliance, she said a pause. Queen Z. My name is Carlashina, the last of my race, she said proudly and identified as Carlashina. Carlashina. By the name of my king Zestismatius, I will defeat you and take the leaders before you, he said, moving and pointing with his spear. Azazel. I won't lose before you and much less accuse me of being a traitor, he said, creating his spear of light and putting it into attack. Carlashina. Oh, so he's not going to run away before the Alliance reinforcements arrive, she said in a haughty tone. Both of them launched themselves to attack, where Azazel has a combat window, but the girl does not retreat before Pelamixto. Carlashina. Ido, number 3. Tokoku Sabansho art number 3. Celestial body exclaimed loudly. He raised his spear from the right side towards Azazel's side, but Azazel reacted and blocked the cut and counterattacked with his spear against Carlashina. She dodges a little spear from the former leader of the fallen. Carlashina. It's knight at 5:15 Kabura Paquetto art number 5:15 Cobra Paquette counterattack. Azazel deflects Carlashina's 15 hits. Azazel. You're very good with the spear, fly he said panting. Azazel. Maybe another time we'll fight he said to create a distraction and hitting the girl on the back of her neck, knocking her unconscious. Azazel. It's time to help Barakiel he said to take flight. Yamato versus Barakiel. The battle of these two was exchanging places in some blocks of the city where it was destroyed by the clash of their swords. Yamato. Hellblaze wave has exclaimed, releasing a very large fireball. The chestnuts launched the great fireballs against Bacariel, and he mentioned cutting the fireball that goes to different places exploding. Barakiel uses his speed and is almost ahead of the lesser chestnut. Barakiel. Chiton whispered. When the black-haired man's great sword hit the ground, a large crater with thunder was created that hit Yamato, sending him flying against several nearby cars. Yamato. Pug he spat out a lot of blood after receiving the impact. Barakiel, with almost no magic power and cuts on some parts of his body, fell to one knee on the ground. Suddenly Azazel arrives and sees the condition his friend was in. Barakiel. Do you have any idea where they are going to keep it? Said the black-haired man and how the thing ended. Azazel. I will keep it in a place where they will never find it, it must not fall into the wrong hands and, I also have the code he said with a smile. Barakiel. I can't believe it's happening and the worst thing is that we're alone here he said, standing up, helped by Azazel. Azazel. We're not alone, my friend, we're you and I, along with our trio of lunatics, we just have to get far away from here, reinforcements won't be long, they'll regret having listened to these imbeciles he said, preparing everyone to leave. Azazel. Before coming here, I told Tannen, Crom and Mitlet to go to the territory of Morrigan, the Celtic goddess who will give him protection in case the damned question he said seriously. Barakiel. I see. Barakiel could only smile as he was right, he wasn't alone yet, he had Akeno, Issei and the rest. When he was about to leave the dimension, someone got in his way, it was Yamato already recovered from the cadre's attack. Azazel. You really are a troublemaker what are your true goals? He said seriously. Yamato. They won't have to know, they will die without knowing anything he said, raising his sword upwards. Yamato. Kamichijiri has exclaimed to lower the cut against Azazel and Bacariel. Azazel Bacariel. Ah screamed in pain after receiving that attack from Yamato, and the two falling to their knees, while the brown-haired boy approaches and grabs Barakiel's neck. With a devilish smile he whispers in the ear of the dark-haired boy with closed eyes. Yamato. When I kill you and lock you up in prison Nayasama and the two idiots I'll take responsibility for your daughter and don't worry when she bucks me like a boar, she'll forget you said brown-haired. Bacariel. I prefer my daughter to be with Issei than a damn terrorist he spits in Yamato's face. Yamato gets upset and starts punching the cadre in the stomach. After stopping hitting and looking at Azazel. Yamato. If you really value your friend's life, give me the chest the threatened chestnut. Barakiel. Don't do it, don't hand it over, he said he was losing his breath because of Yamato's very strong grip. Azazel. How troublesome well he said, sighing lazily. Azazel opens the dimension where the chest is kept, sending it sliding to the ground until it touches Yamato's feet. Yamato with his free arm, picks up the chest, but Barakiel, seeing his guard down, takes advantage to unleash a powerful sphere of holy rays to hit Yamato, creating a powerful explosion of smoke. Azazel quickly picks up Barakiel. Barakiel. Damn, the chest said the black-haired man. Azazel. Even if you have the chest, you won't be able to open it without the codes, we must go, or they will come. The two escape from a magic circle while Yamato was about to catch him. Yamato could only sigh in frustration, but at least he had the chest, when he left the pocket dimension he was still in the apartment, suddenly another magic circle appeared where Dulio and Sererg with their nobility were reinforcements of the alliance. Dulio. Where is Azazel and Barakiel? Asked the blonde exorcist. Yamato. Escaped and gave battle to my team he replied. Sererg. It means that he was exhausted and they made an escape magic circle, said the Belair. Yamato. Yes, but we recovered the chest and the information, said the younger brown-haired boy. Dulio. Then we will go report to the leaders he said seriously. Yamato. I will take the chest to Ajuka Castle. Dulio and Sererg nobly returning to their respective factions. Yamato creates a magic circle of communication and speaks to his king. Yamato. We already have the plans for the cannon he said, speaking from another angle. Zest. Excellent, they took us to the castle, and we have to start making the plan, said the light purple-haired boy. Zest. Another thing, Yamato the leaders are going to be at home. Yamato. I mean, you're going to capture my brother he said maliciously. Zest. Yeah, so act normal with those idiots and that bitch, he said in the same way as Yamato. Yamato. Understood, Zes-sama, he said, cutting off the communication. Suddenly Carlashina put her chest on Yamato's back of her. Carlashina. We already have the objective, she said in a seductive tone. Yamato. Yes, and very soon we will rule the supernatural world, he said, laughing like crazy, and left Azazel's apartment, making it explode. Dimensional gap. Issei was with Akeno, along with Vali and Saji. He was worried about how things were going. His respective dragons and companions told him what was happening due to being betrayed by their partners. In front of the three was the Great Red, the Great Dragon of Dreams, explains about the ritual, and suddenly the Trihexa appears in front of those present. Gr. Trihexa, how the hell did you get out of the seal? He said seriously. Trihexa. It was thanks to the betrayal suffered by the two bearers of Drag and Albion from their partners, he replied. Gr. I saw, understood the dragon god. Gr. Issei, Vali and Saji. Ready to perform the ritual. Dragon Sacrilege. Chapter 2. Dragon Sacrilege and Escape to the Other World. Before starting the chapter 1, we'll give you a warning as it will develop now. 1. The time difference between both worlds, since the Shuumatsu manga takes place in the future 2045 Japan, while DxD is 2017. 2. Trio boy faces two groups in his new world, only that follows the manga. 3. There will be one-shot and specials. In the case of Shuumatsu no Harem DxD, the citadel of the Isseis will appear, but it will not affect the main story. Dimensional gap. The place was a very uncomfortable silence until the Trihexa broke. Trihexa. He's serious, said Dragon. Albion and Vitra opened their eyes at that comment of Great Red. Their bearers were intrigued by that ritual. When he was going to talk, when the big red one was going to explain it. Gr. This ritual coexists to eliminate dragon corruption, looking for a new position in the hierarchy of dragons, he explained. Gr. In that hierarchy are the dragon gods, celestial dragon, evil dragon, and finally dragon kings. Issei, Vali, Saji and their dragons pay close attention to each of the Great Red's words. Trihexa. Few dragons have already done this ritual, I said seriously. Vali. Who are they? Asked the platinum-haired man. Gr. It's Drag and Albion before the faction war, he replied. Drag. Hahaha, I remember that I did it to kill 6 dragons that were candidates to be celestial dragons, he said with a nostalgic tone. Albion. Red is right, that was a time when I considered you my rival, said the English dragon. Gr. After knowing that Drag and Albion rose to be celestial dragons, and this ritual was being forgotten after the faction war ended, said Dragon God. Trihexa. Now, you two, referring to Vali and Saji. Vali Saji. We said the two demons. Gr. You must eliminate your demon part, Vali, you have the power of office and the soul of Albion, seriously. Trihexa. As for you, bearer of Vitra, it is the same, your soul is made of Vitra. Two boys were each putting the words of the two powerful beings. Gr. Issei, he will be the first to do it, and there is a very high price, he said seriously. Issei. What would this price be? He answered seriously. Gr. You will let the soul of Drag, Albion and Vitra exist, he said seriously. Drag. Do it, partner, you made me proud as my carrier in all my years within the booster gear, you surpassed my previous carriers, and proved that you are a worthy carrier, Haidu, Issei said with a smile. Issei was surprised by the words of the Welsh dragon, and where the brown-haired boy smiles. Issei. Thanks, Drag, you are the best weapon companion friend helping me in good times and bad, he said, releasing a few tears. Albion. It was a pleasure to meet you, Vali Lucifer as my best bearers, and you are my son that I never got, but it is time for you to walk on your own as a dragon, he said proudly. Vali. Albion, I will do it, he said with a smile. Vitra, I think this is goodbye, Saji Genshuru, you rose beyond my years of glory, and now I'm about to turn into a celestial prison dragon, he said proudly. Saji. Thanks, mate, I won't let you down as a dragon, he said determinedly. Trihexa. It's time to break the 3 seals before, said the god of the apocalypse. The Trihexa make a chant of Dragonic language. Batashi Dragon, the new leader of the army, who is now the leader of the army, is the one who is now the leader of the army. The seal on Drag, Albion and Vitra was now being broken and exiting the boys' bodies. Gr. Well, now comes the difficult part of the ritual, said Dragon God. Drag's soul formed a red magic circle with dragon runes. The next one was from Albion white. The latest from Vitra in purple. Trihexa and Great Red make a cut to spill some blood in the 3 circle, with the souls of the 3 dragons, in that sacrilege for their bearers. The half-angel was worried about what could happen during that ritual, but her husband smiled at her to calm her down, saying that everything would be fine. Trihexa. Well, brat, the ritual consists of having to endure great pain while your body is wrapped in rays and you spit blood, he said seriously. The 3 of them paid attention to every word of Trihexa. Gr. The ritual of dragon sacrilege has 3 stages. extraction of feeling from its female and corruption of the dragon, removal of the mark on its female, losing the benefits of dragons and offspring in the case of office, it is triple and creating a curse, so she continues having hex but causing pain in the desire to ejaculate, he said seriously. Issei Vali Saji. We accept the terms, they answered seriously. Issei went to the red circle, Vali in white and Saji in the purple one, taking off his shirt. Gr. Okay, now we start with the ritual, and I wish you luck, said the dragon god of sleep. Big Red and Trahixa make a chant. I am the head of the dragon clan, and I am the one who has been defeated by the thief. I am the god of dragons, the one who rules dreams, along with infinity and apocalypse. My brother, who is also a scientist, has passed away in a mysterious accident. With my will, I erased the impurities from their bodies. The final battle of Lucifer begins with the death of the gods and the death of two new dragons. I bestow it upon Issei Haidu and Vali Lucifer, who become two new true dragon gods, and Saji Genshuru as the new celestial dragon. As the ritual began and they heard Great Red and Trahixa's words, Issei, Vali, and Saji gritted their teeth in pain as the process of extracting everything began, Issei and Saji's evil pieces and Vali's Lucifer demon essence. The three were covered in a very large dome, and when the ritual was over, the dome was breaking into pieces and a great roar was heard. Roiir. The first dragon that was coming out was black with blonde eyes, that dragon was Saji Genshuru, celestial prison dragon. The second dragon was platinum colored with blue eyes, it was Vali Lucifer, dragon god of supremacy. The last dragon was red with a black touch and green eyes, it was Issei Haidu, dragon god of domination. The three dragons returned to their human forms and were cheering for the ritual. Gr. Done, you three, he said with a smile. Trahixa. Hahaha, congratulations, now there are two dragon gods and a celestial dragon, said the god of the apocalypse. The Keno looked at her right leg that had a red black mark on it, while the queen piece was missing from her chest. That meant that she stopped being semi-fallen and demons, now she was Issei's dragons, while in the hospital room Ria's king piece also disappeared and turned into dragons. While the former harem of Issei and Saji suffered unbearable pain, a curse mark of a cross with a dragon was appearing on them, just like Vali's fallen ex-wife. Rainer and Kalawarn. Sona Citri, Momo Hanaki, Rukuro Nomura. Beige Argento, Kaneko Toju, Zenobia Quarta, Irina Shidu, Roswi S, Ravel Phoenix, Kuroka Hellcat, Lafay Pendragon, Gabriel, Ulmenhold Karnstein and Office Ouroboros. All the ex-wives of the three wondered where that mark on that part of their bodies came from, but Office knew perfectly well, she had to claim Great Red after capturing Issei and two others. Taking them all out, Issei and Saji looked at their evil pierces, meaning they were no longer tied to anyone now. Vali looked at his hands, he was happy, he was no longer related to his damn lesbian old man. 2 hours passed for the three boys to regain energy, the Great Red and Trahixa were informing him about the events in those 5 years, the dragon god of the apocalypse was very serious, when they told him about the Armageddon cannon, Issei was going to ask the Trahixa, but he couldn't do it. Since a magic circle that was known to the five, where Azazel and Barakiel were coming out very injured. The Keno Issei. Otusama sensei, the couple said. Gr. Vali, take out the phoenix tears and give it to both of them quickly, said the dragon god of sleep. The platinum-haired man agreed and took out a tear in a dimension to heal. Issei was giving the first treatment to Grigori's former leader, and while Akeno was attending to her father, she was crying as she left him. So another 2 hours passed for both of them to catch their breath. RGE. Well, Azazel, what happened for you to get pregnant? He said asked. Azazel. We were ambushed in my apartment, he said seriously. Saji. Who were they? I asked. Azazel. It was Zest's entourage and Yamato was there, he replied, formerly fallen. Issei, Akeno and Vali changed serious expression. Akale. In addition, now factions declare us traitors and so do you three, said Chestnut's father-in-law. Issei. I see, he said closing his eyes. Vali. It means we are enemies and traitors of the alliance, said ex-Lucifer. Azazel. In a nutshell, yes, he answered vaguely. Azazel. But don't worry, I sent Tannen, Crom and Mitlet safely to Morrigan's territory, he said with a smile. Barakiel noticed that his son-in-law, Vali and Saji, no longer had the souls of the three dragons. Akale. Issei, I noticed that the red dragon soul is not in you, he said curiously. The chestnut and two putting on a sad expression. Trahixa. I answer you, for them, said Black Dragon. The two fallen were surprised to see the dragon of the apocalypse outside the seal, but they will ask their questions later. Trahixa. Issei Haidu, Vali Lucifer and Saji Genshuru performed the dragon sacrilege ritual, he said seriously. Both frames opened their eyes upon revealing such a dangerous ritual. Azazel. What was the reason those three did it? Said the mixed-haired boy. Gr. No, the lost precious curse, he said seriously. Azazel. I heard it from Fafnir a while ago, he said thoughtfully. Erakiel. I've never heard that curse, said ex-cadre. Great Red began to explain to the two former cadre about the ritual and where the three boys revealed the names of those responsible for that curse. The unexpected reaction of Azazel and Becariel, the black-haired man, released his thirst for blood with a desire to kill Yamato, while the black-haired man was disappointed in his students for what they did, but he has two respects for the boys after doing such a dangerous ritual. Azazel. Changing the subject, how did you leave the label? I asked curiously. Trihiksa. The signal gradually weakened greatly by the two former bearers, he replied. Erakiel. I mean my son-in-law and Vali, he said in a serious tone. Gr. Yes, but I already explained the situation, said the Dream Dragon God. Azazel. It makes sense, he said shrugging. Erakiel. Son-in-law, guys, said former Thunder Cadre. All three had serious expressions. Erakiel. What will you do now? I have asked. Issei. I'll just go to my former residence and confront the leaders, said the brown-haired boy, releasing his aura. Azazel. Remember, use the button and escape to another world before it gets to trial, he said seriously. Issei. I will do it, he said with a smile. Erakiel approached his daughter and said the next word to her. Erakiel. Daughter, I want you to take shelter in Morrigan's territory or with Amaya, he said seriously. Akeno. Understood, I don't want to be near the damned one, she said with poison. Azazel. For now, we will be in the dimensional gap for a while, he said in a calm tone. Issei. Well, we will go to Cow, said the brown-haired boy. The three create a portal to go to the human world and confront the leaders. Human world. Cow. Issei, Vali and Saji arriving at the park as it was nighttime. Saji. Hi Odo, the presence of the leaders and our ex-wife is in your house, said the blonde. Issei. Let's go, he said coldly. So the three of them headed towards the Haidu residence. After about 20 minutes, where Issei and the two entered the residence, being that there was no one, then the light was turned on, he could see the leaders, all his ex-wives along with Saji and Vali. There was Kiba, Gasper, Yamato and other pieces of zest, all looking at him with hatred, contempt and repulsion. Zerziers. Issei Haidu, Vali Lucifer and Saji Genshuru are under arrest and charged with murder against the Demon Council, said the cold crimson Mayu towards the three. Issei. I would never commit such a crime, and you always make me do diplomatic missions, he exclaimed. Boru. Don't talk to you like that, Mayu Lucifer, from now on you are no longer our son, said the older brown-haired boy dryly. Issei. I don't give a shit, you guys always preferred this group of bitches, he replied. Irina. Don't answer your father like that, said the orange-haired girl. Michael. I also informed you that your wife divorced you, said Overlord. Vali Saji. It's fine by me, exclaimed. Isaka. I'm glad I'm not marrying that criminal, Yamato will be my husband and Kanu's father, said the Kyubi. Zeus. In a few hours a trial will take place for you, said the god of thunder. Sona. Saji, we want to inform you that we no longer have feelings for you, said the Citri. Rubio's three ex-wives went to Kiba's place, where he grabbed Sona and Momo's butts. Rainer Karlawarn. We are in love with Zest, they both said. Auden. Now he is handcuffed, said the father of all. Issei, Vali and Saji were handcuffed, where some Valkyries took them to hell. When he reached a cell, Issei searched for something in his clothes and the emergency button appeared. Issei. Okay, guys, we have a chance, said the brown-haired boy. Both of them nodding in the affirmative. The brown-haired boy pressed the button and a portal opened. Issei. Jump into the portal, I shouted. The two boys entered the portal and Issei continued like this, closing the portal. When two demon kings were arriving with the guards, noticing that the three traitors were not there. Bajuka. I want you to look for him, said the green-haired man. The guards agreed and began searching. The three of them were inside a dimensional tunnel, seeing each dimension. Saji. Where do you think we'll stop? I have asked. Vali. It could be a dimension that does not have the supernatural element, he said thoughtfully. Issei. Activate your armor to avoid falling, said the brown-haired boy. Thus the three entered a balance breaker as they were approaching their new world. Suddenly a path opens up and where the three were sucked into the portal. The city of Tokyo was very quiet. Inside, everyone saw that a portal had opened. They saw that three objects were being thrown towards the mountains of the city. Inside a building, he was having an important meeting when they were in. The mysterious woman sent a group into the forest where those three objects fell. The lives of the three are about to change in their new world. Chapter 3. Welcome to the world of women. Tokyo in 2040, in the middle of a new decade, humanity had faced a new virus much worse than COVID-19 of the previous decade. This new disease only affected men. Caused a new global pandemic around the world. Scientists and health experts named it the MK virus. The symptoms were that the skin of those infected would turn purple, and they would vomit blood in 3 days, they would succumb to death. In addition, the infectious capacity of the virus was immense, it was an airborne disease. With the arrival of the MK virus in less than a year, it was beginning to take effect as several governments of small countries were the first to fall due to their health system collapsing in an alarming way, whether it was public or private hospitals with advanced technology. While the Great Potential initiated an emergency protocol with the help of the World Health Organization, an investigation into the unknown MK virus, if there was a way to obtain a cure. But it was all in vain since the person in charge of research died from having the virus. In the year 2041, the world population had been reduced by 50%, which caused the government to start Project Adam, which was to gather men who would be subjected to a suspension chamber better known as cryostasis. Each country had its own project manager, there were 3 in Japan. Arisa Tachibana, Makoto Shiba and finally Kira Miyamoto. Each selected man had to go to the hospital as an alibi for the project and was put to sleep for 5 or 4 years maximum. By 2042, the situation was worse. The big cities were in total ruin, all transportation could not be used without human help, although there were special robots for emergencies, but even so it would not last long. The main government positions and the World Organization and European Union were taken over by women who assumed control and changed the name OU. OU started to hold virtual formal annual meeting of each member country, and others did not enter OU, since their government declared it as a neutral zone, OU with the technology that could activate artificial intelligence, and also mobilization of the military, so that no one disturbs the order. At that time, 99.9% of the world's humans had died while the survivors were sheltered in hospitals, but their life expectancy was 25%, as they required constant maintenance. 6 months later, OU received a report from the medical community that had predicted that if the situation continues like this, there is no probability of procreating babies in the not-too-distant future. This had worried some in the government, so they asked them to use the sperm bank to create babies artificially. But it turned out to be a resounding failure, since the sperm did not survive the first weeks after birth, and worse, it did not save them from the MK virus. At the headquarters of Japan, the government was very desperate, so they held some meetings debating whether or not to activate Project Adam now, but never reached any agreement within parliament. However, who was against the project was the opposition, since they argued that they do not need the men, since they think it will ruin their paradise that they have worked so long for. There was also the risk of external security if they woke up the first man of the suspension chamber. Several days after the project was approved, Arisa and Kira, who was in charge of the project, received orders from the government to awaken number 1 of the cryostasis chamber. However, when she went to the hospital in Tokyo, she received news that some cryostasis chambers in the Hokkaido region were destroyed by an unknown group. The news from Hokkaido caused a stir around the world where there were various opinions on the incident inside and outside Japan, some of them thinking that it was the work of the terrorist cult Izanami, since it is the only organization that did not agree with the OU politics and its hidden interest. Justice Minister Shihahara launched an investigation to find out who was responsible for the attack inside the cryostasis chamber in Hokkaido. The investigation lasted 2.5 years and yielded no clue as to the attacker. The lack of results from the investigation caused opposition protests in several cities in Japan and the world, calling for the cryostasis chambers to be closed and destroyed. OU headquarters sends Chloe Mansfield as a special investigator, who did not please the Prime Minister of Japan, Kihara Raizoji, as she did not want any foreigners interfering in the affairs of her country, but her complaint was not heard by the High Command. So the months passed where the project was suspended, however the protest was more violent, so OU called a meeting to know what to do with Project Adam of the previous governments. There was division of the members debated the eradication of the cryostasis chamber, since it is too expensive, and someone did not agree with the eradication, since the last hope of humanity is thrown overboard. The president of OU said that next year there will be a general vote. Kihara was under too much political pressure, as the opposition in parliament was telling them to vote in favor of eradication, and there was also the problem that Arisa Tachibana turned out to be a member of the Izanami cult. How did she know that information? Thanks to a hacker leaking information from the central network, which makes her an enemy of OU. On the other hand, Arisa was discovered by the press and quickly made an escape plan with some members of the cult, and she also planned to take the capsule of her boyfriend Rito and her brother-in-law, Ryu Mizuhara, who was sheltered in another hospital in Tokyo. She was afraid that the OU force commanded by Chloe would go for her. And she was also informed by High Gang about the origin of the MK virus. Arisa along with her apprentice Ella that she took 3 years ago during the project. Her name Ella is Kalina Shiba, daughter of the former deceased Dr. Makoto Shiba. She has short blue hair with a mini ponytail at the back, silver eyes, a well-developed body for her age with plump breasts and butt. She had a positive attitude and learned everything her father left behind before he died from the virus, and now she was the successor to the legacy. Author's note. Ella has the same uniform from an anime and manga. Arisa was going to make a call to Mahiru's cell phone to warn her not to blindly trust Japan and anyone from the opposition, but Mahiru's cell phone does not answer the call from the purple-haired girl, so she asks Kalina to carry Mahiru, but the silver-eyed girl accepts her mentor's request and gives the last hugs. So Arisa leaves her hospital office carrying a laptop with information, and while the hospital computer deleted information about Arisa Tachibana. 3 weeks after Arisa left the Tokyo Central Hospital, the news of Arisa was trending in some parts of the world, where the government has put her as the most wanted criminal and $1 million reward, regardless of whether she is alive or dead. However, the former head of the project went anonymously that she was being sought by the Japan United States Special Unit, who made an alliance after the request of the headquarters, after her news of being part of the terrorist organization, which in the following months entered strict measures on entering and leaving the country. Arisa couldn't use her cell phone because it was connected by artificial intelligence, which could discover her secret location where she is hiding, so she resorted to using old-school cellular radio to contact the organization to find out if Rito and Ryu's capsuleer had left the capital and arrived at the central base. However, fate was a real son of a bitch. She was in a very isolated wooden cabin in the city of Cayman while she was using the laptop to continue searching for information about Patient Zero. When she brought the virus almost 5 years ago since the eradication of man, she was very focused on knowing the truth and discovering the real culprits. Suddenly the radio begins to emit a ringtone. Arisa leaves the laptop for a while and takes the cell phone to answer who was calling. And it turned out to be a fellow cult member. Arisa took a breath to ask if she managed to get the 2 capsuleers out of the hospital, after asking her partner the question, who didn't say anything for a few minutes, creating a worrying silence for the purple-haired girl who had no answer until her partner spoke. Who informed her that the extraction team managed to infiltrate the hospital without anyone being detected by the guard and motion sensors on the hospital's underground floor, hacking the system for a few hours in order to continue the mission. The extraction mission did not suffer any setbacks, taking out the 2 capsules as planned weeks ago. Thanks to the approval of their leaders, they loaded the capsules onto the truck and left for the alternative route that could not be found by the military. Their destination was a bay where there is no record of the Japanese government there. A ship sent by the same organization was waiting for him. That gave hope to Arisa after hearing the news. However, it was not happiness for the purple-haired girl, since what came next destroyed her hope after hearing the bad news. Once again, the unknown group that had attacked the Hokkaido hospital almost 3 years ago appeared. Now they had appeared to ambush where the Ginza neighborhood was once, which was an abandoned neighborhood. It was the perfect place to do any illegal activity, be it smuggling or murder. The unknown group that nobody knows where it came from, but was on board a van. Opening the middle door and taking out a minigun and opening fire on the truck where Rito and Ryu's capsule was. Created a hail of bullets towards the truck, but the team leader evaded the bullets with some pain doing orthodox maneuver. However, the truck had received damage from some bullets, still the truck was standing. The leader looked for a way to get rid of his aggressors until she found an alley to make a detour avenue. She did not think twice, entered the alley so that the van would lose for a while until exiting through another avenue without losing course towards its destination. But she was more than wrong, it was that she let herself into a trap without knowing it. The truck with the extraction team, one of the team who was sitting as co-pilot, looked out the window of the truck to see if the van was following where they left the alley. The co-pilot looked out and turned around to inform the team leader who was at the wheel that the attackers are no longer following. That was a relief for the team inside the truck, but less the leader was very serious. Her instinct told her it was an enemy trap, so she asked a co-pilot to take the radio to warn another team that was in the bay to be careful of the unknown group, but it was too late since where she was they saw a black cloud in the distance, where the ship is where they are waiting. Then the leader realized it was a distraction by this group. As if they knew they would reach the abandoned bay port and the ship along with its crew, making it an easy target for their attackers. The more they thought about it and put the piece together, their enemy did not let go of the wheel of the truck, that no matter how far it reaches the bay, to find out if they were ambushed by passing by them. On the other hand, from the distance above the roof, there was a mysterious person who had a state-of-the-art rocket launcher, who was looking towards where the truck was while passing through the streets. That person pulled the trigger of the rocket launcher, thus throwing 2 plasma missiles that went towards the truck. While that was happening, the leader continued to put the piece together in her mind until she was interrupted by the scream of her co-pilot. She asked what was happening, and the aforementioned answers in an altered way that 2 plasma missiles were approaching them. Then she understood that the attack on the ships and their crew suffered the same missile attack. She takes the radio to send the last message to the nearby base that warns Arisa to flee the country. But those last words, the two plasma missiles made contact with the truck, creating an explosion, killing everyone on board, along with Rito and Ryu's capsule. After the report portrait ends, Arisa could not take it anymore and broke down in tears on her knees after learning of the death of her boyfriend and older brother by the unknown group. Her cult partner gave comfort and words of condolences to the purple-haired girl. Arisa accepted that she consoled him only for a few minutes. She got up with a determination that she was determined to reveal the whole truth about Owa and the origin of the MK virus to the world. Arisa takes her things and told her companion to prepare a plane for them in 2 days. She will leave Japan for an indefinite time and will seek asylum in neutral countries far from Owa. 4 months later, and now in the year 2045, after Arisa left Japan and sought political asylum in the Kingdom of Lasania before Bosnia, where from there she began her research on a future cure against the MK virus, since she had the support of the Duchess of Lasania, who gave her access to all the information about the virus. Once again, Japan became a trend due to the news of a group sent by the Izanami cult interrupting one of the hospitals in Tokyo, taking 2 capsules for their cult that was going to be taken to their island, which has no exact location where the island is located, along with its leader Teruna Izum. As a result of the Ginza incident, the opposition party had gained more followers who criticized very strongly for the level of incompetence of the prime minister and his cabinet that made the bad image towards the other members of Owa. It was only a matter of time before the minister changed in the next elections. Also, that news of the incident had emotionally hit Mihiru, who was with Kalina, who was watching him from the refugee aid headquarters in the Tokyo neighborhood, since she learned of the death of her 2 older brothers and also the mysterious disappearance of Arisa. The brunette was now alone without family. But she was not alone yet, since she had a friend who encouraged her not to be sad that her brothers did not want. Mihiru continued forward before the new world without a man, and also a hope had been born about the legend that had been told by some of the old lady during her time in the neighborhood about the coming of 3 dragons that come down from heaven to fulfill the mission of repopulating the earth. That interested Mihiru a lot about that legend of the 3 dragons. This also gained strength in some Japan about the coming of the 3 dragons, who speculated that it would be a man from another world and more. On the other hand, a virtual annual meeting was being held at the Japan headquarters building, following the new announcement from Owa that the vote on the eradication of the cryostasis chamber will be in March. There were Kihara Raizoji, Prime Minister of Japan, Shihahara, Minister of Justice, Shinazaki Mawako, Minister of Public Welfare, Adachi Yuka, Minister of Technology, and Chihaya Masachi, Minister of Public Relations. When the meeting was about to begin, however, he was receiving an emergency message from the artificial intelligence that an unknown anomaly from the sky just opened and 3 unidentified objects came out and fell at high speed, separated in the following locations: forest where the ancient emperor palaces, Shinjuku National Garden, Old Toshiman Amusement Park. Kihara suspends the meeting due to the emergency situation and orders 3 reconnaissance teams to go to the coordinate to send intelligence to find out if you can be useful in the future or not. A few minutes earlier, with Issei, Vali and Saji, the 3 protagonists with their armor on try to counteract the force of the dimensional gap. Vali, Issei, they suggested that we change armor to Dragon Diabolos mode, since at this rate the current of the dimensional gap is very unstable, said ex-Lucifer seriously to Issei. Issei, I also came to the same conclusion, since it is the first time we travel to another world and we still do not know where we can go, be it a different dimension like ours where I am dead at the hands of Rainer and someone else was the carrier of Drag, or another where we will never exist, but you do, and there are infinite possibilities, he responded to Vali. Saji, and how do you know that? Asked former pawn Citri. Issei, I don't know, maybe he has foresight or some other bullshit to bring out as an author, he said in a flat tone. Vali, enough talk, Diabolos Dragon Lucifer, exclaimed the platinum-haired man who was enveloped in a silver light, changing his armor from him to DXD Lucifer. Issei, Dragon God Diabolos grams the former chestnut to wrap in crimson light for this with his DXD armor. Saji, not having that transformation, chose to release a con of his new dragon aura with his armor. The 3 of them being at their maximum power caused a current of the gap to calm down, opening a portal. Issei, guys, prepare for dimensional turbulence, he said with a sly smile. The 2 agreed at what their friend said. The portal was increasing in size due to the magic level of the 3. Issei, Vali and Saji accelerated their thrusters, increasing their speed towards the portal. The 3 entered the portal, making a magic pulse that forced them to lose control of the armor while falling at maximum speed, where they fell inconsistently due to not yet controlling their current powers. The 3 of them went to different places in the new world where it is dominated by women. Next chapter. Proposal and research. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.